do I regret Xilonen? Now, this is C0R1 Xilonen. I have not C2'd her yet. Comments have been confused about that. I have not C2'd this character yet, so this is just how this character seems to me at C0R1, right? And as I would say, absolutely not. She is basically what she is, basically. It's Kazuha, but another one. It's as simple as that. You can stack them on top of each other, and certain characters that really like when you stack them on top of each other, yeah, it's good. Arlecchino, Nevi, my two most used characters at this point. And someone pointed out that Ito can be used in Triple Geo while I have Xilonen active too. And I didn't even think of that because Xilonen, I was like, oh, well, she's not going to give the 30% res. I completely forgot that this set doesn't actually need 3 Geos or less than 3 Geos, right? This would work just on a normal team as long as she's able to do a reaction. So you run her, Goro, and then Fiorina in that last slot, and then she'll just help Ito do a load of damage. I can show it right now. I have not even tested this. Let's go show it. But yeah, this character, really strong, really useful on a load of other teams, and she's able to be used as a sort of main DPS, honestly, because hitting the 100 or 120k plunges, that's good in my eyes. I'm not gonna sit there and say, oh, well, it could have actually been a little bit better. No, for a character as good as her, who is a support character on top of that, she's just able to do that. No, that's pretty good. I'm not even, you can't downplay that. She's really good as a main DPS, considering she's also able to be this god tier support on the side, right? All right, let's go. All right, so come on, let's go here and let's grab this. All right, so boom. Oh, wait, what? Okay, hold on. I don't know what I did. Okay. 58,000. I mean, that's not much. Honestly, that's really not much. I am kind of curious as to why or what may. Oh, right. Yeah, I'm an idiot because I was thinking, oh yeah, sure. Wait, why do I have minus 20% res on all of this? Does the capybara do something that I wasn't aware of? Well, we have the damage bonus. Oh, what? What? Okay. Sure. Yeah. So we saw that. Honestly, I was expecting more for a 40% damage bonus. That's something that that's near what Zhongli would provide you, honestly. Just something that Xilonen with her 36% res does that, but Goro doesn't need to be in the party. Yeah. And she also heals when it's not like that. So, yeah, basically just Ito. So basically Ito is just the same as he is with Xilonen. And you can run someone else other than Goro because Goro is actually weighing the team down now. That's great. But yeah, that honestly, yeah, a big thing with Xilonen is that Ito finally has a proper new buff after however many years. Shiori was a character who buffed him, but I mean that just wasn't really something good. I'm gonna be honest. I wasn't when Shiori buffed him, I was like, okay, it's just Albedo. We needed something different. This is the something different that we needed. We needed a healer. Granted, it should have been a team-wide healer. I would have preferred if instead of on her burst she gave extra damage to Geo characters, she would have just full team-wide healed. I think that would have been a pretty good option. But overall, I mean, this character is really good. She just is that crazy good, and she's really strong all the time. There's nothing I can really say about her that's a super negative, right? This character is basically the character we've had for 4 years already, but now we have another one of him, and he's also really sick and cool, and also the exploration. I guess I haven't even talked about the exploration, although I haven't really used her for exploration because she just hasn't been in my exploration party. I just haven't had to use her at all. I haven't been exploring, right? So yeah, I mean, it's just a very basic, she just works. It's very basic, and honestly, I wish I could make this video longer because I do notice that you guys like longer videos, but she just is insanely good. She works with basically all the good DPSs, right? Other than Alhaitham, I think that's the only DPS character you legitimately can barely get her to work with. But even still, if you're running a Fiorina, Kuki, Alhaitham team, you could probably still try and sneak Xilonen in there. I guess I should talk about how I kind of am disappointed in her functionality with Wriothesley. Wriothesley, I felt like she was really going to unlock something, right? And she was really going to, sort of push through and, make Wriothesley, super strong. Even, if you run him with a whole bunch of cryo characters. That didn't really happen. just due to her uninteractiveness with, like, being able to use on a melt team, right? Because the thing with, Risley Melt is that you need Hydro application, and with Toma, you don't really get that. And with, we were able to use it, and the reason for her not really having much of an impact on Risley is because Emily, right? Emily is a DPS or sub DPS character who does a load of damage off field. And when Xilonen comes on field, she's not really doing a load of damage, and she's mainly buffing Risley. And Risley is not a character so strong that him being buffed is just way better than adding any sub DPS to your team, right? Risley is a character who just, he has access to the like better, like, sort of functioning teams, right? Risley, Toma, Bennett, Emily is my best Risley melt team, and I wouldn't put Xilonen at C0R1 in there. I wouldn't. I don't think that she's, like, there at the top, best team. Now, for a freeze variant of Risley, yes. But if you saw me playing Risley with Xilonen on a freeze variant, you would know I absolutely hate Risley freeze. It feels underpowering. It feels kind of awful. I don't really like it at all. That's just how I feel about it. Other than that, there's not really many other characters. Like, Ayaka isn't a character who is strong enough for me to care about at this point. She hit 600k on her burst. Whoop-de-doo. Like, bro, you're way behind on every other character, right? You hit 600k on your burst if the enemy, one, lives for 600k damage. And if they do live for 600k damage, then you're kind of screwed because you don't have anything to deal with them, because her, like, 99% of her damage comes from her burst. All right, like, you want this burst, and then you could do some normal attacks, but it's not really gonna feel as strong as using your burst, doing 20 hits, doing 600k damage, right? Overall, the Ayaka, team, she didn't really save Ayaka, but I mean, I didn't expect her to save Ayaka, right? Chloride, it works, but, like, Chloride is a character heavily based with reactions. Sinnoh, yeah, Chloride. All right, let's talk about it a little bit more. Talking about Chloride a little bit more. She is a character who really wants reactions, but you can run her in, like, a double Geo setup. I forget the team that I saw, but someone on, like, Reddit or something, I don't know where I saw it. It was a website. Someone was running double Geo Chloride, and I forget the third team member, but it was, I think, Zhongli, Xilonen, or was it Zhongli and, like, Chiori or something? Maybe it was Chiori. It would make more sense for Chiori. But yeah, something like that, and you run her, and it works, but, like, Chloride is a character who just doesn't do a lot of damage by herself, right? You heavily want reactions. It probably was Nahida, right? It was probably Nahida with Chloride, but even still, you're taking Fiorina off the team, and that is a huge loss, right? Yoimiya, it's another one of those scenarios where she just is not good enough for me to care about this small buff that maybe Xilonen gave her, right? This character just needs, she needs an easy A, right? That's what this character needs. If you're unfamiliar what an easy A is, it's something from Dokkan, right? It basically, the developers go ahead, they make you do an event, and you can upgrade your character to be more modern times, right? Most recently, they've added super easy A's, which the easy A's from, like, super long ago started to get really, really bad, right? And they would easy A. So we have cards that released in 2015, right? And they got their easy A in 2017. And now they are easy A'ing here in 2024 again. So it's just a way for the developers to get their cards right and, like, used again, right? Basically, fill out a team, make them better, right? Yoimiya needs that, right? It's sad to say, but Yoimiya does need that, because at this point, her kit just does not function as, like, a proper kit in this, meta at all, right? If we look at Raiden was also a character who massively got buffed because no circle impact, right? Absolutely is an amazing buff for Raiden. Someone mentioned in the comments that, if, Electro damage bonus is probably worse. For my old team that used Bennett, I wanted Electro percent because that was the best goblet for her. Whereas now, if I'm running Kazuha and Xilonen in the same team as Raiden, the amount of damage percent you get from that definitely is going to make attack percent better on the goblet. But back to, Yoimiya, she just is not usable right now. Like, she's usable, obviously, but, like, why would you? Like, why would you when Diluc, Hu Tao, Arlecchino, Lenny, Gaming, like, you have 5 other options in front of her. Why would you use this character, right? Like, it's not like just as simple as, oh, why would you use Yoimiya over Hu Tao now? No, Hu Tao and Yoimiya were once like the only two, Pyro DPS characters, where it was actually comparable because Xinyun hadn't released yet. It was actually comparable. It wasn't too much of a big gap, right? When you were playing the characters, it didn't really feel like a big gap. I think Yoimiya lost like 2 seconds. I like compared them, and Yoimiya was like 2 seconds behind. It didn't matter. If you like the character, you would use them. But why, when all the other Pyro DPS characters are like leagues above this character, why would you use her? Like, it becomes to the point where it's like, oh, power that much. Let me go look, because I did a load of polls lately to see what people valued most for characters. Now, this isn't like a super definitive thing, right? Let's be real. This isn't a super definitive thing. So the first poll where I'm like, hey, what is the absolute first, thing you look for when you summon for a character, basically? So we can see here that I misspelled character, but what we can actually see is that the most important thing, right? This is basically the most important thing, right? Their power is at 16%, 47% is playstyle, 15% is personality, looks is 16%. So power and looks is tied, right? So then let's scroll up and look at the second most important thing, right? We can still see, this is why I'm like, okay, take it with a grain of salt here, because playstyle being both like basically number 2 and number 1 for majority of players is a little weird. I feel like a lot of people misread at least this one, right? They did have close votes. I did try and encourage people to come back and look at the other polls. But once again, we can see a trend of power being second place right here, with playstyle being number 1. And power on this one is absolutely second. And then if we go here, then the third, we get actually a big change up with amount of usable teams being the highest, and then power and looks being tied again. You don't see power win a single one of these, which is a little weird to me. I definitely think that, you can see 5th most, 153 votes. Yeah, you can see, obviously. I don't think people were, really coming back and voting. So, but you could see that power at least is generally like top up there. Like, it's up there for most people, right? Like, if we look at it, like, it never wins any of these votes, but it certainly is something that I think that a lot of people do care about, especially considering when you look at the sales and, months where Genshin makes a lot of money. It's like, oh, they released, Mulaney. Oh, that's weird. Although that is a 5.0 update. Maybe that's a bad example. Oh, they released Arlecchino. They made a load of money, huh? And I'm not using that one site because I've heard, talk about that one website. I don't know the website's name, but I'm not using that one. I'm using Sensor Tower. If you go back and look at the sales revenue for Sensor Tower, you can see month by month when they drop a really strong character, the sales go up, basically. It's as simple as that. When you drop a really strong character, sales go up. Boom. So, yeah. But Hu Tao is the character that I kind of cared about. Didn't really buff, right? So you just keep going through, and it's like, well, it didn't really buff and don't really care to buff, right? Because, like, Ganyu, dude, I'm going to be honest, guys. I hate Ganyu. She's beginning to be one of my most hated 5 stars. Her playstyle does not suit her damage, right? Her damage doing 100k per charge shot was really insane when she launched, right? Let's be real. It was really insane when she launched. We're not back when she launched anymore. This is disgraceful. She is like in need of the same treatment as Yoimiya, where they need to like rework her kit again, right? Maybe just give her like just 3x her charge shot. That is basically what Lenny is. Just have Lenny power on Ganyu, right? That's basically what I'm asking. Ganyu just does no damage, really. She doesn't do the damage that she, used to. And, I mean, Kanich, we weren't really going to see a buff for Kanich, although technically she can buff Kanich. If you look at this, at 320% of attack, yeah, it kind of can give you a stack there. But, yeah, other than that, I don't really see a character that I'm looking at. I think I kind of went over nearly everyone, or at least the characters that I cared about. So, you didn't really see a lot of buff from other characters, because the thing is with Xilonen, you're buffing, if you buff a mid character, unless you're incredibly specific in the way that you buff, you're gonna end up buffing the other characters around that mid character, and a character isn't gonna move up the ladder. What's gonna happen is those characters who were already doing a load of damage are gonna actually get a bigger buff and make the gap seem even wider than this character who got, you know, a 40% bump, right? If you give 40% to 100 and you give 40% to 20, right? Let's say, you know, Nevi is a 100, you know, Yoimiya is a 20, right? There is a 80 gap between them, right? And then you buff them by 40%. So Yoimiya goes up to 28 and Nevi goes up to 140, right? That's basically what we're looking at. I think that's 132 now gap between them, right? I think. I could be wrong on that one. But which is bigger than the 80 gap, right? And that's really what it comes down to. Like, these strong characters really only got stronger, and these weaker characters didn't really see much of a buff because, well, you're trying to buff them, but you're also buffing these strong characters. So 40% for them is going to be a lot bigger than 40% for these smaller characters, right? And that's the thing with Xilonen, right? She doesn't really buff the smaller characters and doesn't make anybody more relevant. She's really just a buff. And the characters who were already incredibly stronger, you know, now feel even like bigger, right? And, you know, Ito, he can get his buff, right? We'll see what he looks like with C2 Xilonen, but overall, I don't really feel a super strong, like, I don't feel like Xilonen was super strong for anybody except for Nevi and Arlecchino. Like, I think these two characters were the, like, #1 characters buffed by this. Lenny was probably also a character that was buffed by this because you would just run triple Pyro and then Xilonen, and that would be your sort of mono Pyro team, sort of, I assume. Lenny, feel free to talk to me, you know. I haven't even looked at any Lenny gameplay with Xilonen. I'm gonna be real, I have not. So yeah, I don't regret Xilonen. She is a really strong character, and she will be useful for more Natalan characters. I think that's the main reason why, is because she's gonna be really useful for Natalan characters. Absolutely, absolutely, she's gonna be useful for Natalan characters. I don't know when, because Chaska's Animo, and Oron, I think, is a 4-star, so I don't think she's gonna be really that great. But hey, you know, I'm gonna be, you know, using her C2, which is probably gonna turn this tone completely different, and I'm gonna see, you know, oh yeah, this was a massive buff for Risley, right? You know, we'll see. I'll have to see to her. I might do that video tomorrow, so look out for it. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.